We hear a lot about vapor intrusion. If it's, excuse me, I know that it's also affected some people within our viewing area over in Franklin recently, and I know it's a very scary thing to hear about. Can you talk to us a little bit about this issue and what it means?
Sure, and vapor intrusion has become a very, it's become high profile in and of itself. As you mentioned, the issue in Franklin, it's, pick your city, Detroit, Grand Rapids, they've actually had some instances where they've shut down businesses. They did that in Franklin. And what vapor intrusion is a certain type of chemical, volatile organic compounds. If they're in soil and groundwater, they really don't want to be there. They'd rather be in air and vapor.
Sure.
And so they leave that groundwater, they leave that soil particle, and they make their way into soil vapor, and they move up to the surface. They want to be free in the air. When you put a building over the top of that vapor that's trying to get up, it catches on the bottom of the building. It gets trapped there, but it will ultimately try to make itself way into the building, the intrusion part of vapor intrusion. And when it gets into a building, it gets concentrated, doesn't necessarily have the ability as it would in ambient air to just dissipate. Mm-hmm. And so you can get exposure to these chemicals through the chemical getting into vapor. Where we've seen it, it's similar to radon, okay, which is naturally occurring but gets into vapor, or it gets into building interiors, right, in the airspace. So when that happens, and different chemicals have different cleanup thresholds, different effects on people. A big one is dry cleaners. Mm-hmm. With, I mentioned perchloroethylene, right, which was a dry cleaning solvent. That is one that drives a lot of sometimes it's cleanup, remediation, sometimes it's just mitigation. So when you have these vapors coming into a building, you can mitigate it, similar to what they do in radon, by capturing the vapors under the building and venting them to the outside before they ever get into the building. So you can just mitigate it, not necessarily remediate it, mm-hmm, and you don't have the exposure. So if you can cut off the exposure, you can do that. And that's very, very common in a lot of situations where they don't fully remediate. Interesting.